Hello and welcome to Myra. In this video, we will be exploring IPFS, the protocol of new internet. What is the internet? Most people think the internet is a set of services like Facebook, Amazon, Netflix, Google, Instagram, Snapchat, YouTube, and so on. But actually, they are simply web services which run on the internet infrastructure. The internet is a global computer communication system that has made all such services possible. Internet services have become deeply embedded in our daily lives, and that instantaneous access to information has changed just about everything. Though the internet was there for a while, the actual revolution began with the launch of World Wide Web. Before its launch, very few people knew what the internet was. After Sun made the World Wide Web free, things started to change rapidly, and a number of browsers were made, with Mosaic being the most famous one. The growth of easy to use web browsers coincided with the growth of the commercial ISP businesses, with companies like CompuServe bringing an increasing number of people from outside the scientific community onto the web, and that was the start of the web we know today. The web has become part of our day to day life. Initially, when it was launched, it was merely a network of static HTML documents, which over time changed and evolved. And today, we can display data dynamically, play media, and pages that can update in real time. All this would have been impossible if two computers would have failed to communicate. For two people to exchange information, they need common set of rules that defines how and when information is transmitted. These rules are broadly known as communication protocols. For example, if you visit France and do not know French, then it will be hard to communicate with people. What you have experienced is a lack of communication protocol. This was the case with earlier computers. They were isolated until the communication protocol was invented. Communication protocols exist in bundles of several layers. As an example, Internet protocol consists of 4 layers. Along with communication protocols, it is also important to understand the system architecture, which is nothing but the basic structure of the interconnection between the computers. The two relevant system architecture to this video are client server and peer-to-peer networks. Client server network is a widely used system architecture which uses HTTP protocol for communication. Here the data is kept in a centralized server and accessed by location-based addressing. When the client makes an HTTP request to the server, the data is sent to the client. Now, location-based addressing makes it easier to distribute, manage, secure the data, and to scale the capacity of both servers and clients. But it also has its drawback. As the data is centralized and saved on the server, anyone who has control of the server can access, remove, or manipulate the data. If one day Instagram decides to remove your profile from its platform, all the photos, messages, and data will be lost in a few seconds. In 2008, submarine cable disruption caused internet disruption in about 70% of Egypt and 60% of India. 60 million users were unable to access the internet in India alone. The famous 404 error arises when you are looking for a particular content in a given location and it's not there. In location-based addressing, the data is stored in a particular location. If the data is removed or moved to some other location, then we won't be able to access the data. Although the client server and HTTP have served the internet well by moving around small files like text and images, it fails to transfer large files, and real-time media streaming was also difficult. All these failures are overcome using IPFS. IPFS is content addressed, unlike HTTP, which is IP addressed, which means when you add a files to IPFS, your file is split into smaller chunks, cryptographically hashed, and given a unique fingerprint called a content identifier. This content identifier acts as a permanent record of your file as it exists at that point in time. Anyone can access the data who have that hash. IPFS is a peer-to-peer distributed file system that seeks to connect all computing devices with the same system of file. where HTTP downloads data from one server, peer-to-peer IPFS download data from multiple nodes at once, enabling sustainable bandwidth saving. Today, if someone decides to remove particular data from the internet, they can do it and you cannot do anything about it. But in IPFS, as the data is distributed on nodes, it is hard to remove data from the web, as someone on the node has the copy of the data. In IPFS, we look for content and each content has unique hash. If someone tries to tamper the data, the hash of the content will change and then you can compare two hashes to see if the data is tampered. Hence the security inbuilt. IPFS stores files as IPFS objects with each object supporting 256 KB of data. It also supports linking data. If the size of data is more than 256 KB, then data is divided into small chunks. Then IPFS creates another empty IPFS object and links all the chunks together. Using this feature, you can create a file system which can look like the file system shown. Since the IPFS gives a unique identifier to each file object, it is impossible to add or remove content from the file as it will change the hash of the file. To solve this issue, IPFS supports versioning of the file. If you edit some data in a file, then in response to this, IPFS creates a new file having a unique hash, and that file is linked to the previous file which was edited. In layman's term, if version 1 is original data, after editing, version 2 is created, which is now linked to version 1, implying version 1 as previous history of version 2. In this way, various versions can be created and linked to previous versions. But why is it interplanetary? Suppose you live on Mars and want to access some data. If the data server is on Earth, then it might take up to 24 minutes to access the data which is on Earth. Again, if the data is moved somewhere else or removed, then yes, you have wasted your time looking for data which is unavailable. But using IPFS, there may be few nodes on Mars which may already have the data you need, thus saving a lot of time. In IPFS, the data is distributed on nodes. Node implies the users who are connected to IPFS. If anomalously the users who have the data get disconnected, then that data will not be accessed by others. To tackle that, there must be sufficient number of users on the network who have the data. IPFS could be seen as a single BitTorrent swarm, exchanging objects within one Git repository. IPFS is new decentralized internet infrastructure on which various applications can be built. It can be seen as next generation file sharing system. With decentralization of authority, users now have the control of their own data. It is clear that IPFS is going to change the picture of the web we experience today. This was all about IPFS. Hope the video was informative. Thank you for watching the video. Please like and subscribe to the channel.